And we are live right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Atheist Republic Arabic channel. I'm happy today and I'm glad that we have Aladdin, Apostate Aladdin in Atheist Republic channel. Hello, Aladdin.
Hi, Dolly. Thanks for having me on this channel.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm happy that you're in Atheist Republic Arabic channel because a lot of ex-Muslims and atheist community in the Middle East, like they are not have the exact exposure to like to understand that others outside they are ex-Muslim too, and we are here. Hey,
Mhm.
okay, so yeah, I think we have here a question from Paul. Yeah, can you like start introducing yourself and then if you'd like to answer this question?
Sure. So my name is Aladdin. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about my journey leaving Islam and problems that I found with the religion, and I talk about it in a bunch of different formats. Like I make animated videos about stories of the prophets. I make videos critiquing specific verses sometimes, or the issue of the hijab in Islam. And I have live streams where I have Muslims or ex-Muslims or Christians, depends on the live stream, or other believers. They call in and they discuss with me why they believe and other related issues. And yeah, so I that's a summary of what I do on the internet. Um, Before that, I used to be a Muslim, and at some point I had left Islam, and it didn't occur to me immediately to start talking about it publicly. I just wanted to share my story on another ex-Muslim YouTuber's channel. He invited me on a live stream to talk with him, kind of like this, and then that's when he and a lot of people on the live stream were telling me it might be useful for others if I can have my own platform. And that's when I decided to go ahead and post some TikTok videos at first, and then I started YouTube. And it's been, I think, about 2 years right now of me doing this, and I've been more serious and more dedicated to my channel more recently. So yeah, I would appreciate it if people checked it out.
Yes, so everyone, if you look right now in the description box below this video, you'll find like the YouTube channel of Aladdin is right there. Actually, I like your content. Like, and after I
Thank
left
you.
Egypt, I was just like checking the content. I was just like, oh my God, this is true. That's what I feel. That's right. And can you share with us like your journey leaving Islam? Like, I know everyone's journey is different, but what
Mhm.
like what made you like say that ah this religion it seems like not the right religion for me?
It's hard to summarize it completely, and every time I tell the story, I will miss out certain parts or focus on certain other parts. So I'll do my best here. Um, in short, I grew up a Muslim, and I grew up in the Middle East, like you as well. And at the time, I had a lot of questions. I was reading the Quran. I was memorizing the Quran when I was young, and I asked the questions to the people around me. My parents, my sheikh was teaching me Quran, and so on. And the answers I would get were not very satisfactory, and a lot of them involved, Allahu A'lam, God knows best. You have to wait and leave it for Allah to decide on these things, or you might not understand al-hikmah, the wisdom in Allah's decisions to do things a certain way. Um, and and to some extent, that did quiet my questioning at the time, because I thought of myself as a young child who doesn't know very much about the world, and I believe my parents, I believe my teachers. So I was inclined to not believe myself or any questions that I had. I didn't listen to my doubts. They weren't even doubts that Islam is true, because growing up where I grew up in Saudi Arabia, everyone around me was Muslim. There was no doubt that Islam is true. It wasn't even posed as an option in my head that possibly Islam is not true, and that would resolve the issues that I see in Islam. So it was a lot of cognitive dissonance in my head to try to make Islam fit, to try to make Islam not problematic. And over the years, I have strayed away from Islam and back to Islam, and that cycle was very exhausting. Till eventually, a few years ago, I wanted to move on with my life, and I wanted to involve someone else in my life. I was looking for a life partner, and that's when I realized that I cannot commit to someone without having figured out what I believe about religion. I can't someday pull them into my religion and ask them if they're not Muslim to convert for me, because that's what my culture, that's what my family expects, that's what I expect. At first, I wanted to verify, is that what I believe? Because I'm not sure I believe in that. And that triggered a lot more research and realizations about how all the shuyukh, all the ulama, all the apologists, their answers didn't make sense, not because I was stupid or I didn't know enough or because I was too young to understand Allah's wisdom. It's because they don't make sense. And that empowered me to eventually leave the religion. And then after that, through that journey, I realized how difficult it was to find people who talk about Islam in a critical way, who aren't just praising Islam all the time. I came across ex-Muslims on YouTube. At the time, I found Sharif Jabir and Qusay Baitar and a bunch of other ex-Muslim YouTubers, and I didn't really trust them fully at first because I still had that mentality that everyone is lying about Islam. But eventually, I felt empowered to face my doubts, and I left the religion, and that's how I got here.
Thank you so much, Aladdin, for sharing this. And I totally understand. Like, first of all, when we leave Islam, we just like have the doubts. Like, it never happened overnight. It's not just like, voila, wake up next day and I'm going to be ex-Muslim today. No, it's like some people just keep like blaming us for not knowing the right Islam. We didn't study enough. We didn't know enough. So because of that, we left, which is not true. We studied a lot, and that like from there, we started to have doubts, and from the doubts, we like had to read more and do more research, and based on all the information that we gathered, we got this trauma, the religious shock. Like, did I believe in that all these years? And after that, we just started to speak our minds, but people just keep like thinking that we are kind of spying agents, or the West just paying us or something like that. I see that kind of funny because this is not true. If that's true, please tell me who will pay us, and we will sign on it. Just tell me, please. Just if you think that's true, just drop it down and tell us. Give me the link. Okay. All right. So first of all, like I know that a lot of ex-Muslims still struggle, like because we're still in Ramadan. Many of ex-Muslim in Middle East, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Middle Eastern countries still struggle with like try to eat in secret or something like that. Like I've seen your video, that you posted like a week ago on your channel about survival guide for ex-Muslims. That was really helpful. Like I hope that people like who are ex-Muslims and living in the Middle East, you will find that so helpful. But what do you think about other like the kind of mentality in the Middle East? Like even if ex-Muslim trying to hide in secret, eating in secret, especially during Ramadan. What are your thoughts about that? I know it's like hard to like be more specified about this topic because it's very broad, but what are your thoughts about it?
I think that unfortunately the world is geared towards Muslims in the Muslim majority countries, to the point that it seems offensive to drink or eat in public because you would be seen as you're taunting or tormenting or making the suffering worse for other Muslims who are fasting. But it goes beyond that. Even if you try to eat or drink in secret, there are a lot of people who will try to find you out and report you to the maybe there might not be any laws against eating in secret, but they will try to harm you in one way or another. They see it as an issue that they have to take care of personally. That you're spreading corruption. If they let it go, if they let you eat and drink, who knows how many other people eat and drink because of you, and they don't like that. So unfortunately, a lot of people are harmed for not wanting to play along with the rest of the Muslims around them. And I hope that we can get to a point where it's at the very least not illegal to do these things in public, and not only that, that it's normal for people to see others eating or drinking and just let them be. Like it's not their fault that you have to fast. That's not their problem. That's your problem. And what's the verse? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. So God gave you that burden. You don't know what their burden is or whether they have the capacity for it or not. So from a religious point of view, you should leave them alone. But unfortunately, yeah, they don't do that. So I hope to see that change someday.
Yes, thank you. Like you're right when you say also this point that they don't want to allow people to eat in Ramadan because they think that, oh, if we let only one person eat in the daylight during Ramadan, now like everyone will do that, and they just that kind of gaslighting that they try to make you feel bad for just feel like for being hungry like an actual human being. Like even Christians right now in the Middle East like have to eat in secret because they don't want to hurt their feelings. Is your iman or religion is so weak so you cannot even hold yourself when you see someone eating in front of you? This is totally like it's
I mean,
it's not acceptable. Like for instance, yeah, what you want to
mhm.
say?
I was gonna say that they should be happy to see someone eating in front of them, because if that increases their struggle, that means they will get more hasanat. So why wouldn't they want more hasanat for struggling more as a Muslim?
Yes, but they don't put it in that way, because even when people they are not even eating in the daylight of Ramadan, specifically Muslims, the thing is that for example, heavy smokers, they're just being so
Mhm,
mad and so angry. So whenever they are seeing like like someone smoke in front of them while they don't, they just feel like jealous, and then just like,
mhm.
you should not smoke in front of me, or you should not drink coffee in front of me, you should not eat. And the silly thing is, like every year I'm seeing posts about Dar al every time, like they are posting things. But before we go to this part, we might discuss about عقوبة المجاهرة بالإفطار في نهار رمضان, the punishment of breaking the fast in the daylight of Ramadan. So it's not a rule in Egypt, but it's unwritten rule in Egypt. But some other Arabian countries and Islamist countries, they are having this rule, and it's in their law. For example, if we scroll down here, yes. So Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Morocco. They are having, like, every one of them has different rule. Like in Saudi Arabia, they are slashing people. I think here is written here they are even foreigners. The punishment if you're breaking the fast or in Ramadan, they are slashing them. I
In
don't know.
Jordan, you're saying, or
That's in
where?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, السجن والجلد. Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
They're lashing them with, or I know that some Muslims will say, but this doesn't actually happen. It's just supposed to scare people from doing it, but that's still a problem. I mean, I noticed something funny here in Al-Urdun. The last line here, it says والقرار يطبق على المسلمين فقط. So how do you know that someone is a Muslim or not to punish them?
yes. I
Like
think they
if
have to
someone,
check their identity card.
Yeah, but if someone like me, for example, I look Muslim, I have a Muslim name, and I tell them I'm not Muslim, they would say, "No, you are," and they would find me. How does this work?
What do you think? Like, will they have like to check the identity card to see the religion?
They would probably do that, and I don't think it would be easy or a good idea to go and change your identity card to say, from Muslim to. Do they even give you the option of saying not Muslim, or is it just Muslim, Masihi, or something else? I don't think they
I
give you
think,
the option to say irreligious.
yeah, I think they're just like don't want anyone to eat in front of them, so they're just like I don't know, but 25 like 25 dinar 25. It's not a big like it's not expensive to pay this fine. 25 to dollars. I think it's just like less than $20 or maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
It's 35 US dollars, which is a lot. Like, that's a lot of money in some countries. I mean, 35 US dollars. I don't know what the average income in Jordan is, but 35 US dollars is a lot. But it's, some other countries, there's, yeah, like you said, al-jald, al-habs, and in Qatar even it says there's no difference between a Muslim or a non-Muslim. They will both get the punishment.
Yes. Um, and about Qatar, like I remember something right now. It's irrelevant of what we are talking about. It's irrelevant of this topic, but it was like something happened in Qatar a few days ago. Some people thought a Filipino guy a gay, and they beat him up. I don't know if that actually available right now in front of me, but if you know what I'm talking about.
I haven't heard of it, but I'm not surprised. Asaf, I'm not surprised.
Ah, like a lot of crazy things happening in Qatar right now and in most of Middle Eastern countries. All right, so oh, 1 second. Okay. All right, so oh, Badr is saying thank you, Aladdin. I'm coming from Morocco, and Art 222 will put you in jail for 6 months if you insist to eat in public. Oh,
I don't know if that means the police or something, but so yeah, their punishment is jail then, I guess.
oh, yeah, it's in front of me here, like 6 months and fine from 12 to 120 dirham. Oh, that's totally crazy. I
I
don't
think
know.
even 1 dirham is a problem. We shouldn't be focusing on how small or big the amount is. It's the principle. They shouldn't punish anyone for eating or drinking.
They
That's
shouldn't, but
yeah, yeah.
would you like to answer that?
The question from Badr says, "I'm wondering how can we protect ourselves as ex-Muslims against society and state violence?" I don't know if I'm qualified to have a good answer for that. I think it's hard. You have to make sure to cover your traces. So if you are talking to other ex-Muslims online, make sure that you don't give out personal information. Make sure that like if you're using applications, make sure that the communication is encrypted. But even then, someone from the government might take someone's phone and find out all this information by having their password. So try to be careful with all your information if you're trying to organize anything or communicate with other ex-Muslims around you. Don't trust random people on the internet. There are a lot of Muslims, unfortunately, who try to pretend to be ex-Muslims just to get you to trust them and then leak their information. So yeah, I don't have any specific advice except take precautions. Don't use your real name on anything because unfortunately we could get arrested in the Middle East for even a Facebook post. So yeah, be careful.
Yeah, thank you. And about this part, what like What your thoughts about the challenges that also ex-Muslims have to deal with, not only in social media, but one of the biggest challenges that ex-Muslims like struggle specifically in the Middle East, um, like the how to maintain their relationship with family and friends, specifically if they are just also trying to eat in secret or just do whatever they wanted to do in their lives, but it's just a kind of struggle to maintain their relationship with their family and friends without being exposed or put themselves in danger.
I think it's unfortunately a problem that's hard to solve. I mean, ex-Muslims are usually given very few options. The most guaranteed one to work most of the time is pretending that you're Muslim and hiding everything that you do that is not Islamic as much as you can. And that just doesn't necessarily mean things that are major sins. Just eating or drinking when you're not supposed to, or say your family expects you to go to the mosque, but you don't necessarily want to. Some people have to pretend or actually go to the mosque, or maybe they try to pretend to go to the mosque and then go somewhere else. And it's very tricky, and you never feel safe around your own family. You never feel like you're comfortable or that you're being yourself. And you always worry that someone's going to catch something that you said or did that you didn't hide well enough. And again, it's not even about doing something wrong or something morally wrong. It's just about doing something that gives away your lack of belief. Um, I think the best solution is always to surround yourself with people who are more like you. So if you can find friends who are more like you, then you don't have to pretend when you're out of the house anymore. You only have to pretend around family. If you can move away from family, that is also another solution. But of course, that's not always easy to do. So yeah, I don't have a definitive solution for it, but I recognize it's one of the biggest challenges is your own closest people. Yeah.
Yes, and okay, so about this topic, there was one person before like posted something online about that. He wrote that in Ramadan he's struggling to hide from his family that he don't want to go in salat, like in the Friday salat, salat al-Gum'ah. So he doesn't have ex-Muslim friends, and he feels that he must do that every single Friday, like every Friday, like in every week,
Mm.
of course, plus Salat al-Tarawih also. But the most struggle is like everyone just suggested to him, what do you think that you might just like lie and say to your family that you want, like you're going out for Salat, but you don't, you just lie. And he said like, I can't because they are going with me. So he doesn't have ex-Muslim friends. His family going with him to make sure that he will go to the mosque or in the masjid and do the salat. So I tried to think about a solution here, but what do you think about like this kind of problems? Because I think he's not only having this problem, like everyone.
I mean, one solution that might not work for him specifically is to maybe find a friend that lives somewhere else, not doesn't go to the same mosque, and is an ex-Muslim, I guess, which this person doesn't have that at the moment, unfortunately. But if someday they do, maybe they can arrange to always hang out with that friend at around the time of Salah, and tell their family that they're going to pray with them at the other mosque. But every now and then they would go back to praying with their family just to cover their tracks and keep their family not suspicious. But even that makes the person paranoid, because you always wonder, is someone from my family going to show up at the other mosque and try to check? You never know with these things. So maybe they could try. This might sound silly, but it might work. Meditation while they're in the setting that they don't want to be in, like while they're at the mosque. Try meditating to use that time to think about other things, or think about nothing at all if they can. Um, or try to use that time to get their mind off of what they're currently doing. Other than that, I can't think of a better suggestion. Unfortunately, it's a trap that a lot of ex-Muslims are stuck in.
That's true. That's unfortunate situation, and one of the solutions I think he has or they have to find an ex-Muslim friend, or if they're not, they have like to practice meditation or something like that. Take their minds away of the current situation
Mm.
to just stop the emotional damage or the torture that they feel that they have to go to Salat while they are not actually Muslims. And what do
Or
you like?
perhaps if they have the choice, maybe a Christian friend or something, because maybe a Christian friend would be willing to hide it with them.
I don't think that might be an option because it's okay. So Coptic Coptics Christians are
Mm.
kind of cringe. They are just like whenever they are seeing like Ramadan coming or Ramadan like just came and then Muslims are fasting and then just like that type of Christians or Coptic Orthodox Egyptians, you just like go online and saying, I'm going to fast with you to support you. I'm going to protect you while you're fasting. I'm going to help you eat, like I'm going to eat with you in iftar. So we'll have this kind of like representation or diversity. But where is the diversity you're talking about? You are a minority. You need the support. They don't need your support. Why you just like keep writing these posts online and doing it in the real life too, supporting they are fasting. So I don't actually trust Christians because most of them, like if if not all of them, but many of them, just like I'm a little bit mad because stop doing that.
I mean, you never know. Maybe some of them are not even like practicing Christians or think that, Islam is very oppressive or silly and they just can't talk about it. Of course, the only posts that you see online, are the ones that praise Muslims for fasting or say, we will do this with you. These posts, people love these posts. Like Muslims love sharing these kind of posts because it makes them feel good too. So that's why you see a lot more of those. But I'm sure there are a lot of Coptics or Christians in general who aren't on board with it. But they know better than to make a post about it because you know what happens to people who oppose Muslims publicly. So they just rather keep their peace and be quiet and stay out of it. The other ones that make posts like these, I think Gen Z would call them pick me people. They're like trying really hard. Maybe that's not even the nicest way to phrase it. Some of them might be pick me's, and some of them just feel like they want to belong to something. Like they live in a country where most people are not like them, and if they do this, if they feel this camaraderie with Muslims, maybe then they'll feel like they're part of a larger community, as opposed to a small minority. So maybe that's one reason they do it. But of course, you have to be careful who you trust with this kind of information. You don't want to go to someone who's gonna rat you out or tell the Muslims around you that you don't want to go to prayer. Just be careful.
Yeah, not every Christian is a good Christian because some of them just like a pick me guy or a pick me Christian girl. They just like go and cheat and tell the Muslims like, hey, this guy is an atheist. Like, why you're doing this? And also, you know what? There is like an actual situation happened to me when I was in Egypt. I was working and like at the place of work, like I had like a Christian friend, a Coptic friend, and in that time, like people like in the company like knew that I am not a good Muslim as they can define it because I didn't fast Ramadan. I never like practiced the religion or salat with them or prayers. But I was like a kind of the phase that I was like to research and read about other religions. And I asked this Coptic coworker, I told her, hey, I'm interested in Christianity. So I was thinking about, and then I asked her things about Christianity and the religion and things like that. The girl freaked out and she told me, please don't say that to anyone. Please don't ask me these questions here again. I don't want anyone just like, I don't want to grab any attentions. And I was kind of like, feel confused because I made sure that I'm asking her alone. Like there were not other Muslims around us or even other people around us. But I believe that kind of fear, I think she was afraid. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking about most of Coptics in Egypt.
I'm sure if someone, at work, or, say someone made a post about her, said, there's this woman, she looks like this, her name is this, and she's trying to convert Muslims to Christianity. People would be so angry. People would like try to go and harm her. You've seen people do this on social media and in real life very often. So I'm guessing that's why she's scared. She doesn't want any association. She doesn't want to seem like she's trying to convert you. But it's funny, but Muslims can do da'wah all day long, and no one's gonna attack them for it. In any country in the world, they do da'wah in secular countries too. But yeah, I guess like you're saying, in Egypt, that woman was scared for her safety. It's funny, by the way, you said that people at where you worked, they said that, or they think of you as not a good Muslim, because there's no other option. Either you're a Muslim, a Christian, or not a good Muslim. They couldn't think of you as not a practicing Muslim or not a Muslim, just ex-Muslim, whatever. It's just not a good Muslim. You need to do better at being a good Muslim, otherwise you'll be shamed.
Yeah, like that's true. I remember that situation when I was at work and it was Ramadan. And so in Ramadan, they have the iftar in the rooftop of the company, and they were like have a food vouchers. So food vouchers had two different colors. I think, like, let's say Muslims had blue colors and Christians or not Muslim had like a green color voucher. So like before the iftar time, Maghrib, um, like Christians wanted to go in the rooftop to eat, like it was a free food. And I was like, I want to sign my name with Christians because I am like, can you imagine that you have to sign your name, and I sign my name that I want to eat tomorrow,
Mhm.
because like let's say tomorrow was like the first day in Ramadan, and then they told me, but you're Muslim, your name is Muslim. I was just like, yes, I have my period. So I had to just say that first because I wanted my name to be signed. I didn't have like period at that time, but I just used that. So no more questions asked, but I just needed to sign my name. So I lied, and they give me the second day this green voucher, or like the different color for non-Muslims, so they like I can go and eat before iftar. But after 7 days, my supervisor keep asking me, "Hey, do you still have you?" I'm sorry, but he was just like, never ended. You're not Muslim. Why are you still eating? Are you good? And I was saying, yeah, I still have my period. He said, like, is the period
It
like the
was a
whole
guy.
month of Ramadan?
It was a
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. He
interesting.
lied at me, and I yelled at him back. He was my supervisor, and I yelled at him back.
That's
It was a
funny
funny
because
situation. Yeah.
it's funny in a sad way, because usually men don't talk about the topic of a period. Like, that seems like aib, to talk to a woman about her period.
He was shameless. Like, my boss was crazy. He was shameless. He was that shameless guy. Like, he kept asking me, "Hey, you still like why you're not eating? Why you're not eating?" And then I told him I have an excuse. He told me, "What excuse? Is that excuse still with you all the month? When will it
They're
end?"
very nosy. Like, they feel like it's their responsibility to police you. Like, even if there is no law that says you can't do this, the men around you and even the women around you might feel like it's their responsibility as a good Muslim. What is it? "Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi." So they're like trying to change. If they see you sinning like that by pretending to be on your period, is what he's thinking, then they have to do something about it, because otherwise you are sinning and you're going to hell and all that kind of stuff. It's scary when you think about it as an outsider. Like, I wish people who aren't Muslim could understand how crazy that world is, that you have to get permission to eat, basically, and you have to explain that to the people around you why you're allowed to eat. Yeah.
But of course, like I didn't use that word period, but I would just say I have an excuse. And when you just keep saying that you have an excuse, they just assume, oh, so
Yeah.
she's on her period. But the excuse was like for 30 days. And even my coworkers, like the girls, the women, Muslim women, were just like having the same question.
I
That
mean,
excuse never ended.
what if you
Everyone
were
was so
actually
nosy.
they don't even think about it. Like, what if you are a Muslim, right, and you do want to fast, but you have a condition and you've been bleeding for a month? Maybe it's a problem with a pregnancy, whatever it may be. Like, it might be a reason it's none of his business, Islamically or otherwise. But unfortunately, yeah, they feel like they're personally responsible to do something about it.
That's an unfortunate event, and I guess that happened for a lot of ex-Muslim women. Like even now, I'm not in Egypt, but I'm seeing and reading posts online about same women just facing the same problem. Um, and by the way, this is like so crucial. I mean, like social media and um, online communities like bring us together, not only on social media like Facebook groups, but subreddits for ex-Muslims of the Middle East, ex-Muslims in Egypt, the Arabic or the English subreddit. I think that like the support and the community that bring us together as an ex-Muslim, it's it's very important. But what do you think about like what the kind of danger maybe that ex-Muslims should avoid to not pay attention? Like I know that some way or another, like we will grab attention because we're not actually a good Muslim, as some people say in the Middle East, but how they can protect their privacy, their private information from being leaked.
Um, do some research into, for example, VPNs. Use a VPN if you can. It doesn't using a VPN doesn't make you automatically safe. You have to understand how it works and how it can help you if you're using a VPN. It's hard for me to explain here, but that is, I would suggest that people look up videos about what a VPN does and how someone can get your information, whether you're using a VPN or not. Like, for example, one way that someone say someone wants to infiltrate a Discord server or a subreddit or something, and they send you or someone else in a message a link. Say they hide it and they say this link is 10 proof that Islam is false or something like that, or proof that Islam is true or something that you would want to click possibly. And when you click that link, what it actually does is it gets some information like the time zone, what kind of device that you're using, like the IP address that you're clicking from, and a bunch of other information like that about your device. And sometimes that information might be enough to use with other information to figure out who you are. If you're using a VPN, that might change. Some of this information might change, like your IP address might be different, the one that the hacker or attacker gets. But that's something to keep in mind. Stay away from links that you see on the internet. And even if the link, it might pick your information up and send it to the hacker and then send you to the correct link. So you might not know that anything wrong happened. So that's just one way to be careful. Don't send information to strangers online. But more than all of this, I'm frustrated that we still have to hide it to that extent. I hope that someday we can have in-person meetups that aren't dangerous to have. Like, have some kind of hangout in a Muslim country without being worried that people will find you and harm you. But even in secular countries, that is a concern. Like if there is a meetup in the US, for example, for ex-Muslims, they have to be worried about, is someone going to show up and try to harm people? So I think one of the best approaches is to make as big of a noise about it so that Muslims have to explain themselves to other people. Like we want it to be known that, for example, if a tourist wants to go to Jordan, we want them to know what are the rules that maybe they will be subjected to, but also what are the rules that Muslims and ex-Muslims are subjected to. Do they want to support a country monetarily that does this kind of thing? And so on. And maybe putting pressure, economical pressure and international pressure on Muslim countries, maybe that'll change some things, I hope.
But how can they do that while at the same time, even in a secular country, as mentioned, that when ex-Muslims just meet up or talking about their experience leaving Islam in social media, in their private social media accounts, like it's in own social media account. They don't even say that out loud. They don't have a platform like those dawah guys in secular countries. But when they're speaking about their own experience of living Islam and how Islam like treating women and grooming girls and children and everything, they're just being called out as Islamophobe.
What can we do about that? Just keep doing what we're doing. I mean, that's part of why I have my channel. Is I'm tired of seeing the da'wah people have a platform and say the most horrible things, and on the other side, I'm tired of seeing anyone who tries to critique Islam or tell their story or say something that the Muslims don't like. They get harmed. I'm trying to use my privilege of not currently being in the Middle East as much as I can to spread the word, to bring people's attention to these issues, to have conversations. There are a lot of Muslims whose minds I've changed, not necessarily even about whether Islam is true or not. I don't care to bring as many Muslims as possible out of the religion. What's important is that I get them listening for long enough to see that I have a point, at least in how I'm thinking, and it's not like what they were taught, that I am just someone who's here to, getting paid by the Zionists to make up lies about Islam and Muslims. No, I'm having an actual conversation with them. And when they feel like they're heard, then they try listening to us. I've had some success with this, and I'm hoping to continue to do this. It's much harder to do something like that from inside the Middle East, of course. So my solution is to do as much as I can from outside the Middle East and just hope for the best. And maybe someday have some. I know the ex-Muslims of North America, for example, that's an advocacy group. That's a charity organization that is concerned with these issues. I hope we have more of these organizations to bring international attention to these problems.
And about this topic, I want to talk about something. I can maybe share the screen if that's okay, but I think I I don't want to do that because there are pictures for girls and I don't want to share the screen, but there are one of those Islamists. They are targeting minor girls and he is talking about minor girls, like they are below 18 and 17, because they are just like trying to live their lives. A girl like wore hijab and then she took it off, and then that guy, he just like posted her photos and like slut shaming her, like called her a horrible names in Arabic. And what do you think about that kind? He's not the only one. Like there are actually an organized groups, those terrorists. I'm calling them terrorists because he is actually a terrorist.
Mhm.
And whatever he's doing, it's so horrible. Like why you're targeting girls, and not only adult women, but also minors. They are 15 years old. How we can just prevent that kind of online terrorism? Because this is a kind of terrorism, because those poor girls like deactivated their social media because of his friends, thousands of them, just like called them out. How we can help those women, especially for ex-Muslim women who are like maybe they are out of Middle East, or maybe some others who have the kind of influence. There are not many, but some of them, not even ex-Muslims, but maybe feminists or something. How we can also, we as an ex-Muslim out of Middle East, help them, men and women, to prevent that kind of attack, or the online terrorism, for just or the online hate speech.
I mean, my attempt to do this is by bringing attention to the issue in many different ways, not just by talking about every instance of this happening. That is one way to, whenever something like this happens, we bring attention to it so that people know what is happening, so people know who is behind it. Because at the end of the day, Muslims are gonna look bad when this kind of things happen. At least, like in a Middle Eastern country, Muslims don't give a shit, because they can either they agree with what the man is doing, or if they disagree, they might just say, "Oh, he's not supposed to do that," and that's it. But outside of the Middle East, outside of Muslim countries, Muslims don't want to look like that guy. They don't want to be associated with that guy. So of course they'll try to say that this is not real Islam, this is not what the Prophet told us to do, and all that crap. But at the end of the day, they know that this is a bad look for them. So maybe putting pressure on Muslims to, govern each other and do something about it internally, maybe that'll help by trying to show the world that this is a major problem among Muslims. Not every Muslim is going to behave like this, but most Muslims don't do anything about it. If not all Muslims don't do anything about it. They either encourage it or they just, let it happen. So I try to find creative ways to bring attention to these issues, but that's really all I can do. If there's a way that we can influence the laws to be able to dedicate officers to finding and persecuting those people. I know that there are ex-Muslims in other countries in Europe and Australia and other secular countries that they have reported people who try to do this. If they're not in the Middle East, if they're in those countries, and the police do find them, and the police do, put them in jail or put them under supervision. So if we can have some version of that in Arab countries, that would be great. But of course, it's difficult to do. So I'm not sure what else to do about it.
That's an unfortunate thing, actually, and it's very complicated. But I hope that in the near future that we can, like, specifically women in the Middle East and other people, try to influence the laws, because the change happening from inside. It's much like some people just saying that it's hard to do it from inside because we are oppressed by the laws and things like that. But people have enough power actually to do. It can happen from outside, but it will be a little bit harder. But it must happen from inside out, not from outside of the region itself.
I think one big solution to a lot of these problems, it's slow, it's not as immediate, but information about Islam and getting critical thoughts into believers, or encouraging them to have critical thoughts, because through the generations, the next generation is going to be less religious than the previous one, hopefully, and so on. And that will fix a lot of these problems. I mean, there's still going to be people who are fundamentalists. There's still going to be people who are violent. But the more that people leave Islam, the more that people think about Islam critically, and the more that they realize the problems in Islam, the fewer the people there will be to cover up for all the bad things that other Muslims do. So that is the bigger approach here, is information, not just information about the specific incidents and problems, but information about Islam in general. And I think that is one of the most effective approaches to solving all the secondary problems caused by Islam.
True, but there is also, like, here something, it's might be harder for even like people to push from the region itself, from inside the Middle East itself, because, for example, like, I know it's not the only case here, but this is like a case for millions of women being shamed online for having the same situation. For example, this woman who been called out, that I'm talking about, the adult woman, she had a sexual relationship with a man, okay, and then in a private group for feminists and women supporting women, just like shared her experience and said that she had to go through, Tarki al-Ghisha, because in the Middle East that they cannot marry, to just like escape from the honor killing if she did not do this kind of surgery to have her virginity back or something. So that man just called her out. I don't know how he found her post, but this is one individual case of millions that's happening. And this is how they can just like try to keep women, just like, don't say it's okay that I have sex before marriage and I should not do this kind of surgery. Women should say that, but because of the slut shaming in the Middle East, it's it's a very complicated. I think that because of the religion, just like the influence itself is so horrible.
I think the issue is bigger than religion, but it stems from religion. Religion makes it okay to think that you should have rules that are enforced even through violence, even through public shaming, through everything, because it's for the greater good. It's for what Allah wants. And this group mentality, this agreeing that everyone should be on the same page about everything, is a problem that stems from religion itself. So whenever people do violent things, it seems almost inevitable. I really don't know what would be a better solution than to try to get people out of the religion, to try to get people thinking critically so that they would want to leave the religion themselves, not to force them out of it. That would be the first step, and better education. But unfortunately, it goes down even to media, like movies and music videos and whatever it may be. There are so many of these themes that are normal in these movies, like violence against women or violence in general. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in movies, violence is seen as a funny thing, right? Like
That's
people would hit each other as
unfortunate,
a
but
joke.
true.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It.
In Middle Eastern
Yeah.
movie, it's funny thing to see a man just beating his wife, or like, I don't want to say the word because the YouTube, but like اعتداء,
Mhm.
because just his wife.
Assault.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine to do that for your wife. In Islam, like, إذا امتنعت المرأة إنها, like, if a woman don't want to have a sexual intercourse with her husband, that it's forbidden in Islam. Like, you should not have an opinion of that. That's in Islam. Because of that, in media, in movies, in Middle East, they just like بيرسخوا الفكرة. They are just like putting this idea it is something normal for a man just beat his wife and sleep with her forcefully, like force her.
Or even like maybe in the movie they won't show him physically forcing her, but they might show him really trying to convince her and trying to coerce her, almost like trying to
There are
not.
movies had this
Yeah,
scene. It was
really.
horrible. In Egypt,
I think your internet disconnected.
one second.
Looks like you're back.
Can you? Okay, I'm back right now.
Yeah, you're back.
All right. So that was the movie that I was talking about. That was the name of the movie. حين ميسرة, دكان شحاتة, حلاوة روح, and many other movies in
Okay.
Egypt. They've, they had. I was traumatized when I see this. Like, why you guys having this scene? Why?
I didn't even watch these ones, but I've watched some Middle Eastern movies recently, and I couldn't make it through, whether it's a movie or a musalsal or whatever it may be. I couldn't watch the whole thing just because of the amount of casual sexism and casual violence, and when you teach people that way, they don't even have to know about the verse of wife beating, or they don't even have to know that your wife cannot say no to you. If you make it seem like everyone is laughing along and everyone's saying yes at the same time, people will learn that. It's not just through what they learn in school. It's not just through what they learn in Quran. It's what they learn through their parents' actions. It's what they learn through the media. So there has to be, maybe that's one way to approach it, would be maybe if like an Arab cinematographer would direct and shoot and fund a movie that is not in the Middle East, maybe involving a Middle Eastern cast, all in Arabic, but not shot in the Middle East because they wouldn't allow this kind of thing, and point out some of these problems and show how problematic it is. Maybe that'll garner so much attention. Muslims will be very angry and they want to get it banned and all that kind of stuff, but it'll give people some representation of a healthy idea towards sex and gender and all that stuff. What do you think? Do you think that that kind of activism would make a difference?
Actually, there is a movie just happened, like, I think last year or maybe more than that. It was an Egyptian movie. It wasn't like it didn't, like, the shooting and everything was not in Egypt. It was in Lebanon. It was Sahaba al-Aaz. It it did you see it? It
I've heard
broadcast
of
on
it.
Netflix. Yes, and it was talking about the relationship in the, like, between friends, and one of them was gay, and the idea like taken from an Italian movie actually, but they just like made it like a little bit relatable to Middle Eastern culture, but it showed it shows us a very healthy ways of relationship. And because it was not like it didn't happen in Egypt, it happened in Lebanon. Taswir and everything happened in Lebanon. So Egyptian went mad, and they said how they are saying that it's okay to be gay in the Middle East, and it was just like that actually happening. There are gay people in the Middle East, and there are women having like polyamorous relationship in the Middle East. This is
Wait a
something
second.
actually.
It's not just women having polyamorous relationships and men are having polyamorous relationships,
Yes,
right? But
the
people are
the
focusing on the women part of it. That's the part that gets them angry.
yes. The movie shows like showed two parts: the women and the men. The man who is
Right.
cheating and the woman who is cheating. People just like
But
left
they
out the
don't
man who's
get
cheating.
angry at they don't get angry at men cheating. You see that
Yes,
in Arabic media all the time.
they went mad. The woman was cheating in the movie. منى زكي was كانت البطلة في الفيلم ده, and they went mad and they just like called her out a very horrible name, slut shamed her. How you're doing that movie? Egyptian women not like they are not used to cheat their husbands. And I was like, the men cheated also. Guys, can you see the man in the movie?
I mean, I get why they would be angry at that movie, but even if, like you said, I don't think that movie was done to be specifically to be progressive. I think, like you said, it was just copied from the script of another Italian movie. I've seen that happen in the Middle East a lot. They would copy the same idea from another movie, if not the same scenes even, and then make it a bit more relatable or a bit more Arabic. But if the movie was not even just, I know like gay rights are a very contentious issue and will be for a long time in the Middle East, but just something to point out how no, it's not funny to hit on a girl in the street, because I've seen that being the joke in a lot of Arabic movies. Like that part is supposed to be funny, how a guy is very sexist or very overly I don't know, like he hits on all the women and that's supposed to be a joke, or that the guy is like hitting his friend or hitting the woman that he's jealous over because she looked at another guy or he thinks she looked at another guy. If we could just have a movie to like show how much of a loser that person is, to focus on that, to tell people this is not a good thing to do, maybe it'll piss them off, but at least they'll like at least it'll give them more things to reflect over than just how, you know, cheating is bad whether it's men or women. Like I want to start from the very fundamental levels of violence is bad. It's not funny to hit on women. It's not funny to do drugs. Like that's another thing that I saw in Arabic movies. They make it seem like it's funny to smoke, you know, whatever that they smoke, but at the same time, it's supposed to be haram. Which is it? Like, are you trying to make it seem cool or
Double
not?
standard. This is double
Yeah.
hypocrisy.
It's yeah, and obviously always it's men who are doing the haram things, and that's funny and that's fine. But you don't see women doing the haram things, you know, like you said, then they get angry.
Women not allowed to do that haram things because they are women. You must be at your home, like you must be like you show
Mhm.
how much like how the hishma you are, the modesty, because you're a queen and things like that. They also like represent women like you are the queen of the house, so you should not like do the haram things, which is totally BS. Like, no, that's not true. And okay, so the last thing that we want to talk about also before like to forget, because we like talked about a lot of ideas, but one thing is about related to ex-Muslims also and the religion itself. For instance, um I also think that Al-Azhar, if Al-Azhar just like don't have a strong rule right now, I think people will just like stop caring more about whatever those like whatever iftar or not or breaking the fast. For example, like Dar al-Iftar just did this announcement about like what mubtilat al-siyam, what breaking the fast and what's not, and it's totally crazy because one of those it was just like when you use sanitizer, like people asking very silly questions, like, "Hey, if I use sanitizer, is that what will make me break the fast? If I put perfume, is that what make me break the fast?" and الغسيل الكلوي also. Like, guys, what do you think?
It's from an outsider's point of view, it's crazy. Like, try telling a non-Muslim in, I don't know, some other country that's not in the Middle East, tell them, yeah, we have people don't even know what to do without asking the religious government or the religious authorities first. They don't know if they can use sanitizer because they have to ask first, or perfume, or brush their teeth. It's like giving your brain, just throwing it in the trash and asking someone else to think for you, and just asking, what should I do next? They're either slaves to Allah and whoever Allah's representatives are in this world, the shuyukh, the whoever does the fatwas. It's sad, and it's crazy, it's insane.
And yes, and it's like عدت مرحلة الجنون هنا. Like this is out of being like, oh, sanity. Here they are asking الإفطار لمريض السكر. I think this is inhuman. If that person don't have money to pay like the fidya, and he's sick or they are sick because they have this chronic illness, it's inhuman.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who are very poor in a Muslim country, and they have an illness, and they either force themselves to fast because they can't afford to pay fidya, or they force themselves to pay the fidya because they can't fast because of health reasons. But they're stretched so thin that they're broke, but they're just trying to do what the rules say. It's really sad.
It is sad. And one of the things that just like also make me angry, like if you have a period, you should not touch the Quran or the Mus'haf.
It's the way that Allah or Muhammad thought of the period was like filth coming out of the woman, like najasa. It's disgusting. It's filthy. It's impure. You need tahara, not najasa. It's like the opposite of pure and clean. I'm not saying that you should go and wash your hand with period blood, but like it doesn't make the woman filthy. It's not like she's got blood on her hands, and I remember a hadith about Aisha praising Muhammad because he would she would have her period and he would cuddle with her and not do anything sexual, and she was praising his self-control for not doing that. And it's insane. It goes back to the days of the Prophet, this insanity that people thought it was commendable of him to control his urges so much that he doesn't touch his wife while she's on her period. And at the same time, a woman is dirty and filthy when on her period. It's not that he's just controlling his urges. He thinks you're filthy. He doesn't want to touch you that way, during your period.
And I don't see that's actually like even Prophet Muhammad, when he just like, I really feel disgusting even from the way that those imams right now at these days like keep saying that he was kind of a cool man, like اللي هو عنده قدرة 60,000 رجل. Like, why you're saying this?
I can't imagine talking to my friends about how sexually strong I am. How
That
could they
would
have
be
known?
so awkward if you just like talk to your friend, hey. I don't know if Prophet Muhammad in these days was just like saying like to his friends or Sahaba, hey, I'm sexually active. Okay.
I mean,
What you
there's
want?
a hadith where like he got up suddenly and then came back, and because the woman passed in front of them, and then he got up, and then I don't remember if he volunteered the information or someone asked him, where did you go? And he said that he got aroused by the woman passing by, so he went to have sex with one of his wives, and he gave that as advice. If you get aroused, go have sex with your wife. So he did talk about his sex life, but I wonder how much of it is just, how like people are hyping up the leader kind of thing. Like they worship the leader so much, they just start exaggerating everything. So maybe he never mentioned that he has the power of 60 men or however 60,000 men or something. I don't know. But maybe it was just the men around him just making up rumors about him, about his penis and his sexual strength.
Why even they are doing that?
because they're just slaves to the person, to the cult leader, you know?
Yeah, but even if the cult leader, like hearing his friends just saying that how sexually active he was, why he even allowed that?
I mean, maybe he felt some pride in that. Like maybe كان عنده عقدة نقص, you know, and then he heard them talk about it so well, and he's like, oh, well, let people believe that. That's fine.
His insecurity and toxic masculinity. Yes, that's true. Badr said it's toxic masculinity. um.
Can
Okay.
you imagine someone? Okay, let's have a thought experiment. Imagine if these hadith were about Aisha and how like sexually. Uh,
Women not allowed. Women cannot have sex. Women are not. It's haram. Men
but
can only
even
do
if
that.
even if they weren't talking about like Aisha and other men, just Aisha and the Prophet, what if they said that she could make him finish 60,000 times in one night, or like her farjaha is this and that? Like, would people
Do you
be
know?
okay with
You
that?
know that hadith? Do you know that hadith when they like a rumors إشاعات طلعت لعائشة where like they started to speak about like, oh, she might cheated her husband, she might cheated Muhammad, and
Hmm.
we saw her with another man in the Naqa or something like that. And then hadith or the hadith just started to say that, shaming Aisha and saying that she's a very bad woman, and Muhammad was so sad.
He couldn't defend her. He had to wait till she had her period, right? He couldn't just say Allah says that she's innocent. He had to wait.
Why do you think that he had to wait? Because like if he's like an actual prophet and he had this kind of influence back in his days, whatever he was saying, people were just like clapping at him and saying that, yeah, we believe you. But why he had to wait? That
Well,
because she's a woman.
this is my hypothesis, and I might be wrong, but I think if he said no, she's innocent, and everybody shut up about it, right? I don't know if I don't know if people actually respected him that much, or if it was more like they respected Omar, you know, the angry guy who's next to him all the time. But even if people respected him enough to shut up after he said that, which he didn't say that, then imagine she gets pregnant. Like she has a kid and it's not his. Like what if the kid looks more like the other guy? Like what if people can figure out that um there are some theories about him not even being able to have children of his own. Like either they would die young or something, or but if she ended up being pregnant not because of him, then he would look so bad that he said Allah said that she's innocent and yet she isn't. So he had to wait. I can't remember how long she waited. I don't know if you remember, but he had to wait to make sure she wasn't pregnant.
Yes, that's true, but that means that he never had this kind of strong influence. Like that what I know that you I know this point of view, but at the same time, I'm thinking about that. He didn't have that strong influence back then.
I
Maybe
don't think he,
because
yeah.
even Sahaba didn't agree with him about his women or wives.
Maybe he didn't. I mean, he needed a verse to tell the people not to linger too long at his place. إن ذلك يؤذي النبي or something. So he needed God to tell them to do things, because I don't know if they all respected him to the degree that we're hearing in the stories. So even like after he died, a lot of people fought among each other. So I have a feeling that people either listened to him because of political reasons, or to benefit from being on the winning side when they were winning, or because they fear Umar ibn al-Khattab, or some might have believed. But as soon as he died, people started fighting with each other already. So maybe they didn't respect him that much. But even if they did, if he had told them to stop and then she turned out to be pregnant, then that would implicate Allah. That would make Allah seem like he doesn't know what he's saying, and Muhammad doesn't know what he's saying. I don't know. What do you think?
He didn't know what he was saying. Remember that when he was like الحديث اللي كان بيتكلم فيه عن إن الشيطان شتته, like the shaitan or the devil like distracted him, and then he said no, that was the wrong wahi, that was the wrong inspiration. Iblis just like whispered in my ears, and Allah told me that later. He had
Yeah.
similar situations like that. That wouldn't be the first time if he did the same. And whenever he was like having this kind of situation repeatedly, that was like make him less honest, and people started to question his credibility over and over and over, and most of one time, and it happened in most of like more than 3 or 4 or even like 5 events.
Well, the funny thing is, all the shuyukh say he was known even by his enemies as a Sadiq al-Amin. But we have instances of people telling him he's lying and like arguing with him. So which one is it?
Because he was a liar, and even like he stole the idea of Islam from Musaylama, and then he called him Musaylama al-Kazzab, Musaylama the
Right.
liar.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
wasn't like, I just like, I want to imagine how Musaylama was thinking about it. Like, I prevented the idea, I prevented the religion, and it was like, I'm taking it from you. I think that time was not like there is no kind of copyrights or something, because I think that people actually right now are worshiping the god of Musaylama, not the god of Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad just had a kind of help and resources to help him to do that. But anyways, that was what I was thinking about. And I am not sure if someone has a question here. I asked them if they have questions, but apparently not. Okay. All right. I think that's the end of our live. I think we took more than an hour. Like talking to you was like, I didn't even like ما حسيتش بالساعة دي, literally, like I was just like, oh my god, there is an hour already. It was a really good time talking to you, and it was already a great topic to talk. Thank you so much, Apostate Aladdin. And hey everyone, hit that like and share and the bell button so you can get the notifications, and you'll find Apostate Aladdin YouTube channel in the description box. Okay, and also if you'd like to support me, you'll find my Patreon, please. Okay. All right, thank you everyone. Bye.
Bye everyone.